Hi there. I am back for another update, and today I am 24 weeks and 2 days pregnant, and the drama continues. So, have a look around, and you will notice that, no, I didn't do some redecorating. I am actually coming to you from a hospital bed. So, yes, I had some issues over the weekend after I went in for my ultrasound. So, this is going to be a bit of a long video again because I have a lot to tell you. But I want to keep you guys all posted on what is going on with this dramatic pregnancy of mine. So, here we go. So, as I last told you guys, that, we had lost Abigail, and I was going to be closely monitored to make sure that I didn't have any issues with infection and things like that. So I went in for a second ultrasound since her passing on Friday. Last Friday, technically. Today is Friday, Valentine's Day. This is February 14th, and so a week ago I came in to get an ultrasound, and everything still looked good. Abigail was, still where her position was before. Her placenta was still a little bit, towards my cervix, but it wasn't covering it, so it was okay. The doctor asked if I had any cramping, any blood loss, and any, just weird stuff happening. And I hadn't, nothing strange. So I had told him that I had started to have some Braxton Hicks contractions, and he said that's normal. For this time period in the pregnancy, your body starts practicing, getting used to what it is to do to contract. It's not the same as contractions. It's kind of more like the muscles are just starting to learn how to tense up, but they're not. It's not painful. It's just tightening. So I told him I was having some of those, and no big deal. So, so after that, I left, went home, went to work, whatever, no big deal. Over the weekend, everything was normal, no issues, except for on Sunday. And this is going to be a little TMI, so I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on what happened, just so if anybody else has any issues like this, then they know what to look for. So, on Sunday morning, John and I were just waking up. We were on iChat, and I kind of felt like some discharge, and I really hadn't had much discharge at all through my entire pregnancy. I mean, as always, you always freak out about, blood or anything like that, because that could be a sign of miscarriage or something, and I hadn't had anything. So, so when I felt this, I was kind of like, whoa, what's that? So I looked down, and I went to the bathroom, and I looked down, and it was a little bit, it was kind of like the size of, like, I don't know, like a nickel or whatever, and it was like a dark brownish, muddy color, kind of like, like at the very end of your period, that kind of stuff at the end. That's what I was looking at, basically. And then I remembered that, on Friday I had had an internal ultrasound, and so I thought, oh, it's probably from that. So I didn't think much of it, and I quickly went and I Googled, and I said, when you have, dark, like colored discharge, what does that mean? And it said usually it's just from, it's dried blood or something, and, it can happen if you'd had intercourse, or if you'd had an ultrasound, an internal ultrasound, or like any sort of like cervix checks or something like that. So I wasn't too concerned at that point, but I did, make note of it, and I was going to tell the doctor next time I saw him. So then So I got up and got dressed, went about my day, and as the day went on, I started kind of feeling a little bit more of this stuff happening. And I was thinking back, because I had asked, after we lost Abigail, what happens to her, her sac and her placenta and things like that. And the doctors basically said that usually, what happens is your body just kind of reabsorbs, as much of it back in as possible. Abigail would kind of, um, I don't want to say calcify, but he did say that word, and the word kind of it just doesn't give me a good image, but he did basically say that, her placenta wouldn't go away, but, they were going to be monitoring that part, but it would probably move out of the way, and her sac would just get reabsorbed into my body, and then, as the pregnancy progressed, and the other baby grew, that, Abigail would kind of get pushed out of the way. So he, didn't say much about it. And I remembered they gave me like one sheet, like of a, take home thing. And on the sheet, I found it when I was, throughout the day, and it said something like, like call your physician if you have any bright red bleeding, any abnormal discharge, and a lot of fluid loss or something. And that was basically it. And it said like these things would happen in like 24 to 48 hours. So this is now 2 weeks later. So I didn't think much of it. I really thought it was related to the ultrasound and, just kind of having a little bit of being, maneuvered around with the ultrasound wand. So, um, So I kind of went about my day, and I went out and did a little bit of shopping, and I came home, and it was starting to increase, so I was kind of getting concerned. But I've never been pregnant before, and it's a Sunday, so I asked my sister-in-law if she had ever experienced a little bit of bleeding after having an internal ultrasound, and actually she never has had an internal ultrasound. I've had several of them because throughout IVF you do it a lot to see your ovaries and things like that. So it wasn't anything new to me, but she had actually never had one, so she really couldn't, actually say. So I went to bed, and I was getting ready for bed, and it was just like, it was like dark brown. It wasn't red, so I wasn't thinking that, it was anything to be concerned of. So I just decided that, I would monitor it, and I would just call the doctor in the morning and let him know, and, go in and have it checked out. So I figured I should probably put like a bigger pad on so I could monitor how much of, this stuff was coming. So I put on like an overnight pad and I went to bed. And I woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And John, he's in Key West, and he had a gig that night, and I think it ended at like 2:30. So when I got up and went to the bathroom, I checked the pad, and usually, with a pad, if if you have a period, you're going to see some stuff on the surface, but I didn't see anything, so I was like, oh, no big deal. But then I realized when it was like it felt a little bit heavy, so I kind of peeled it back a little bit to look at the back side of it, and I realized that the back of the pad, like part that sticks to your underwear usually, was filled with a fluid, and so because it was a fluid, it just kind of went all the way through, so I didn't really see it on the surface. So that was a bit concerning to me. I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting, but it is 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm like, well, the doctor's office opens in 5 hours, I'll just give him a call in the morning and see what it is. So I went to get back in bed, and I told John, and he said, do you think it's Abigail's sac? And I said, I thought about that, but, the doctors didn't talk about what happens if it doesn't get absorbed. So, yeah, I think maybe that's a possibility that, it's her sac and that, it's just going away. So we, we went to bed. I said goodnight to him, and I told him, that I would just call the doctors in the morning and get it checked out, and he was, comfortable with that. I was comfortable with that. So we did that. So I woke up at like 7 or so. I knew that, if I went to the doctor's, I would probably be a couple hours. So I did a little bit of some work just to get things covered, because in the mornings, the first thing that I do is I send out reminders for all of the final deadlines that are on my docket for my attorneys and paralegals for the next 2 to 3 days. And I only had I don't think there was 9 of them or something like that to send out. So I quickly sent those out. I took a shower, and after I got out of the shower, I had realized that the pad that I had gone to bed with was filled again. I had changed it, and it was filled again, so it was like, all right, so this is different. And when I got out of the shower, I went to the bathroom, and then it started to look more pinkish, not red. So I still was thinking, okay, this is probably still related to the ultrasound, and maybe it just disturbed stuff, so maybe her sac was leaking out or something, but I didn't think it was a big deal. Just kind of thought maybe this is part of the whole process. So I called the doctor's office, and the nurse that answered, asked if it was an emergency, and I said, no, I just wanted to let you guys know that, I had a little bit of bleeding today, and I had some fluid loss, though, and that was the part that I wasn't sure about. And she goes, fluid loss, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of a clearish color, it doesn't have any odor, and it's, tinged pink because there's a little bit of blood. And she's like, okay. And she said, hold on a minute. And she came back, and she goes, okay, well, you should go to the hospital. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to maternal fetal medicine, which is where I've been going for all of our testing. We went there for our genetic testing. We went there for our growth scan. That's where we were when we found out Abigail passed away. Because it's a high risk. It's more in depth. In my OB's office, basically all I do there is I get my blood pressure, my weight, my urine's sampled, and any questions and how you feeling, and that's it. All of my ultrasounds have been done here at the hospital, at the maternal fetal medicine area. So I said to her, oh, okay, so I'm going to MFM, and she's like, no, you're going to go to delivery. And I said, why am I going to delivery? And she said, because it sounds like your sac has ruptured. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'm pregnant with twins, but I lost one of them recently. So is it possible that that's what happened, that her, sac is just going away? And she said, yeah, that's exactly probably what happened. But, we have to make sure it's not affecting the other baby. And she's like, and you could be going into labor. And I was like, labor? I'm only 23 weeks in 5 days. And she's like, yeah, you should get to the hospital soon. So I was like, what? I was so floored. I couldn't believe that this was happening. Everything that happened with Abigail was, kind of hoping that everything that we'd gone through with Abigail happened because there was an issue with her pregnancy, and that everything else was going to go fine. And now we're still having issues, and it's like, I just can't believe it. So I grab a few things, and I'm thinking, they're going to tell me that it's Abigail's placenta and everything is okay with baby B, and they're just going to make sure she's still there and everything's good. So I grabbed just, necessities. I grabbed, some chargers. Actually, it was one thing I did remember. I grabbed my phone charger, my work phone, my work charger, and I grabbed a tablet, so that if I needed to talk to John, then I could maybe Skype in with him. So I got to the hospital, and I drove myself because, at this time, everything that I think was coming out of me had already come out. Maybe because I was standing up in the shower and whatever. I had been wearing a pad after I was on the phone with her, and it didn't have anything in it. So I wasn't in any pain. I just figured they were going to tell me and confirm that yes, it was Abigail. Her sac had ruptured, or not, rupture wasn't the word that I was using. I just figured that it had gone away. I get to the hospital and they take me in and they do a stress test. And oh, also, I had been feeling baby B moving all around, and so I kind of thought, well, if there was something wrong with her, I probably wouldn't. You would be in distress. I don't know. I didn't think if everything felt normal to me, as far as that went. So when I got to the hospital, they hooked me up to some monitors, and her heartbeat was pounding away, and she was moving all over the place, and everything looked good there. So, but I was still like curious because they did they did a test on me to see if there was amniotic fluid in that was coming out, and it did test positive. And when she said it was positive, she kind of got me a little worried. She was saying, that could mean that you're going to go into labor today, and I just was really shocked. Um, I I didn't think that losing a separate sac that for a baby that had already passed away was going to be something that would drive the rest of the pregnancy. So started getting worried, but at this point I still didn't know what the heck was going on. So they finally said they were going to do an ultrasound just to confirm that it was in fact Abigail's and not baby B. And so when finally that happened, the doctor did her thing, and she was very, very nice, and she goes, okay, it's not baby B. Baby B is perfectly happy in her own little world, kicking away, and she's got good fluid level, and everything looks good. So I was like, oh, okay, great. And she said, but it definitely was baby A's sac that ruptured, and so this is what we have to do. And then she started rattling off some stuff, and I was like, what? What's going on? And she said, well, first of all, you have to treat you with antibiotics, because now that you've had an abruption, you're susceptible to infection, and if the babies get infection, then they have to be delivered immediately. And then she said that I would have to get steroid shots to help mature baby B's lungs, because if she was born at this point, she wouldn't be able to breathe on her own and would pass away. And then she also said that I had to be put on something called magnesium sulfate that would stop my body from contracting, because with an abruption, it's like breaking your water, like in a normal pregnancy. It would be one of the things that would start the labor. So okay. So I was like, all right. And then she goes, and you should probably let some family members know that you should bring, they should bring some things for you, because, you're going to be here for a while. And I said, for a while, for like, a day or 2 days or something like that. And she goes, no, you're probably going to be here until you deliver your baby. I was like, what? so shocked. I was just floored. Yeah. So here I am. It is now Friday, and I will be in the hospital for the remainder of this pregnancy, and however long that is. So, hi there. So I was doing some editing on this video, and I had actually had a doctor come in and do their rounds. So they told me a little bit more information, so I just want to jump in here and kind of let you know exactly why I'm stuck in the hospital and what this means as far as my risks are. So with the abruption, a couple things happened. Because her sac ruptured, of course, fluid came out. It allows a path for bacteria to get back in, so they're going to protect me against infection. And then one of the other big concerning things about my pregnancy in particular is that I have what's called a marginal placenta previa. It's kind of been in the news a lot lately. A lot of famous people have actually had this happen. And basically what that is when the cervix is low, when the placenta is low and it's covering the cervix opening, that's dangerous, because the placenta is basically what provides my blood to the baby's blood, to the babies themselves. I'm going to pull up a picture so you can see it here. All right, so this is placenta previa, and this would be a full one over here. See how it's covering the whole birth canal here? So if you went into labor, the baby obviously would be pushing right against that, and it would cause a hemorrhage, and the mother can bleed out, the baby can bleed out, and that's definitely not good. So this is where mine is, right here in the middle. See, when it's like within 2 inches of the cervix, that's when it's considered marginal. Go away. There it is. And this would be like a normal pregnancy where it kind of gets pulled up out of the way and the birth canal area and the cervix are completely wide open. So when her sac ruptured, it also caused trauma to the placenta and caused some bleeding. But it's not terribly dangerous at this point because it was just like a little bit of spotting, a little bit of flow, but it wasn't a full full hemorrhage or anything like that. So, but they're still very concerned that can happen at any point. So I have to keep my activities to a low point. I can walk around the room. They do want me to walk around the room because they do want to increase, make sure my circulation is still going. But I can't like take a walk down the hallway, and when I go to my appointments for ultrasounds, they have to wheelchair me over. I can lift a little bit, but not too much. I can lift like a small child. I can take showers. I can do like a lot of basic stuff, just, kind of as if you had surgery, what you would do after surgery. So just taking it easy and, keeping it low key. So that's one of the fears, and they feel that the two driving forces of this pregnancy are either going to be an infection that they have to decide to either control or have to deliver, or the bleeding. And if either of those two things don't happen, then wonderful. But that is what they're worried about. So that's why I have to stay in the hospital for the remainder of the pregnancy, which my goal, is to hope that we make it to 32 weeks. So that's 8 more weeks here. Other than that, it would be awesome if we made it 10, 12 weeks, of course, but a technical twin pregnancy is like 36, 37 weeks is considered full term. So that would be, in the best of worlds that we would get to that point. Everybody here has been amazing. This hospital staff is so, so supportive. And I have a great corner room, and, I'm trying to make the best of it. So, this is where we are, and, it sucks that I'm going to be here for the rest of my pregnancy. I had so much to still do. I had so many things I hadn't even done. I just literally finished doing my registry. My poor sister-in-law had just started planning it. She already got the invitations printed, and now it's like, I don't know what, I don't really know what to do with that, and it's like, I didn't even get to say goodbye to my pets. Like, they're at home, and I'm gonna miss. I don't know. It's hard, but this is the best place for me to be, and John's in Key West right now, and he is coming home, but he'll be home on March 4th. We were gonna have him come home like immediately, but we talked to the doctors, and they were like, you could, there's a chance, but they're kind of like, we're not gonna let this happen. They're gonna stay in there. So like just keep him where he is. They're gonna stay put. So, and plus the weather this past week was pretty bad, and I didn't think we would be able to get a flight up here, and but what's the best thing is technology and Skype and internet. Like, he has been able to be with me most of the time whenever possible. When the doctors have been doing their rounds, he's been here. We met with a NICU doctor, a neonatologist, and she went over some of the scary statistics with us, and he was here, and we were able to ask the questions that we needed to hear. And in every couple of weeks they will re-meet with us again and go over, if we had the baby at this week period, what would we be looking at, and what kind of risks, and what kind of decisions would we have to make, and things like that. So So thank God for technology because, you know, I don't know, otherwise I'm not really quite sure where we'll be. So, um, so yeah, so he's going to be home and probably won't be going back to Key West. He was supposed to go back to Key West in April, but he is probably going to stay home because, you know, the likelihood of me delivering in late April or, you know, early May is pretty high at this point. So I definitely don't want him to miss that part. Um, but yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to be positive about this all. I'm like, um, you know, hey, I get fed like some really nice meals, and I get waited on hand and foot in here. Um, I am saving money on my train pass because I'm not going to have to go into work anymore, though I am able to work. I can work remotely, and I did start working a little bit on Thursday, although Thursday was a little tough because, you know, I was out for a few days with everything and then just dealing with the emotions of getting back into it and getting my mind restarted. Thursday was a little tough. Today was a little easier, but I'll probably be, you know, getting back in the swing of things on Monday and trying to be as normal as possible. But that's $275 a month. I'm not spending on a train pass anymore, so that's a good thing. I'm not spending money on gas, not spending money on parking, food, so, and just like a bunch of like little everyday things, you know. Oh, and my winter just ended. The next time I'm going to be leaving here, it'll be spring. So, yeah, you know, I'm trying to be positive about it. It is hard. Um, you know, like I said, I like left in such a hurry. I really didn't think that I was leaving the house and wasn't going to be back there for 8, 10, 12 weeks. So, you know, I feel really bad for my pets, but, you know, I have an awesome family, and I live with my sister-in-law, my brother, their 2 children, and my dad, and they help us out all the time. And so they're doing a lot to help take care of things at home. And then John's going to be home soon too, and he's going to be able to, you know, pick up the slack there too. And but yeah, you know, it's just really hard. You know, I'm an independent person, and kind of being thrown into like this weird world. I just still can't really believe that it's happening. So, so yeah, so this is where I am. This is what's happening. This is reality for me. And yep. So, drama. My whole pregnancy has been all about drama, it seems. Um, yeah, well, anyway, I am going to get some sleep, get some rest, and I will update you guys as things move along. And, you know, pray for us. Um, hope that this is a very boring and just sitting around doing nothing, waiting for a whole lot of nothing to happen. And that is what I'm doing. I'm going to try to, you know, relax, work, maybe do a little bit of shopping, um, and just basically hang out and wait for nothing. And hope that we make it to 32 weeks, 34 weeks, 35. Oh my God, 36 would be amazing. But yep, this is where we are. So thank you guys so much for all of your support, friends and family. I appreciate everybody reaching out to me this past week, and everybody coming and helping out, and everybody coming and visiting me. And yes, please come visit because I'm definitely going to get bored here being trapped in this room. Although I have a really big size room. It's, you know, I kind of have the corner suite of the maternity long-term stay unit. So so it's not so bad. Got a nice bed. um, yeah, but really I do appreciate everything that everybody has been doing for me. Please come visit me because I am going to go insane. Um, I love you guys so much, and I will update you guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.